So we are continuing our unit on classes and methods and objects by using what's called the string class. Now, strings are a nice bridge from variables to objects because they have properties of both variables and objects, which makes it a little easier to make the transition. So what's nice about strings is when you do declare a string, you can just do it like this. Okay? But you know that. But what you don't know is that you can also declare a string like this. Now, this is the proper way to declare an object. You use the keyword new, rewrite the name of the class, which is technically the constructor that you're using, and then inside, in this case, if we want to call it this Stephen again, is that even how you spell Stephen? I think that's Stefan. So anyway, this is an alternative. These basically create the same things. And what's interesting about objects is these two are These two are actually the same object. And we're going to discuss this in class. It's a little bit easier with visuals and when I can actually, speak to you. But the basic idea is both name and name2 are both, there's only one Stephen in the whole, or Stefan, in the computer right now, and it's both of those are referencing them both. The same thing. So this new is a way to create an object. That's an object reserved word. Okay, so that's the beginning of kind of creating objects, and when we do real classes, where it's not really like just a variable, you will get the idea. All right, there's a few different kinds of strings. So if I create another string, this guy, I can't, for lack, we'll just do this. This is an empty string. So this is an empty string. That just means there's nothing in it. But this, we're going to call it bad because that's what I'm doing. If you do something like this, that's considered a creates a null string. Now there's a big difference between being a null string and being an empty string. And that difference is what methods you can run. You can't run methods on a null string, but you can run a method on an empty string, and that's important exception to understand when you're running through it. So immutable strings are immutable, and we'll discuss that in class a little bit more, but that just basically means you can't change a string, and weird things happen because of it, and we'll discuss that later. So the first method that we want to talk about, once you've created a string, you want to do things with it, okay? And the only thing we've really done so far is concatenate them, means put a plus sign between them. So the first one, and determine if they're equal or not, or compares to. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to use the dot length. Now, when I'm teaching you these things, I'm going to be doing this in the main method. But when we're writing them, we're probably going to be writing methods. So we're just going to be using them in different ways. So string.length, here, that's the first method we're using. So the way that this runs, now, up until now, all of our methods either didn't have anything before the method name, or it had the name of the class. Well, we can't do that here. Here you have to have an object, and this is where we're kind of taking the bridge from variables to objects. So we have to create an object and put the method after it. So str.length will simply return however the length of this guy is. Now this is okay. I'm going to have to copy this because I'm going to write this a lot so we can see what's going on. But this right here will give us whatever the length of str is. Pretty straightforward, yes? Okay, this is okay here, because see, I'm running it on an empty string. 0, shocking. because it's 0. If I tried to run this on bad, okay, that is considered a null, may not have been initialized, so it will not allow you to do that. So you need to know that your program will kind of like bottom out if you try to run it on an uninitialized variable there. So if I do name dot length, obviously the length of name of Stefan is 7. Super exciting. That's what length does. Now we use length a lot in for loops, so we're going to show that to you, when we get to where it's necessary. So dot length is the first method, simply tells you the length of the string. Pretty straightforward, not too difficult to understand. The second one that we're going to be discussing is character at. So that basically means we need a variable. So let's create one. A little bit more exciting. So string, let's call it whatever, S1, and this rocks, because it does. Again, if you're looking at your notes, I'm trying to take these from the notes so you can understand them. So this rocks is a string. So if I want to use character at, there's things that you need to know. One thing you need to know, what is being returned and what parameters does it need. So things you need when learning about methods are need when determining or using methods that you didn't create is you need to know what is being returned and what parameters are needed. Okay, so if character at, this one that we're going to be doing, this is how you write it. Okay, character at, the implicit parameter goes over here. That's the one before the dot, so I'm going to use S1. That has to be a string. Inside here, this has to be a position. So this has to be an integer. So character at 4. So this is saying what character is at position 4. Now this is a very interesting thing here, because positions aren't the same as, if this is your first time doing this, you may not realize, and I swear to God, if a parenthesis doesn't go out, there you go. So this rocks at position 4, which is, did I not output something yet? Character F, oh, it's nothing. It's this spot right here. All right, it's blank. So let's pick a different position. Oh, I love my job. C, okay, there is a C at position 7. And what that means, so remember it's still running this one, I can comment that out so you don't see it, but position 7 is the C. So if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, position 7 is the C, but it's actually in the 8th spot. So what's interesting is positions in strings start at 0. Okay, so the T is 0. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 0, 1, 2, 3. The space is 4, as we figured out before when I put a 4 there. 5, 6, 7 is your C. 8, 9. So when this rocks, if we were to do the length of this rocks, the length is 10, but the very last position is 9. And that's a very interesting and important concept for you to understand. Positions start at 0, and they always start at 0. They can't start at 2 or whatever. They always start at 0, so that we always know what position we're at. So the character at thing, all we have to do is we put a position, and it tells us what variable or what letter is at that spot. So this guy returns a character. So if I were to pick, say, remember 9 is the last position, that's your C, I mean your S. If I were to pick a 10, okay, it doesn't tell me I have a mistake. Let's see what happens when I do this. No, it's exploded. No, string out of bounds exception. So just watch out for that. This is a problem. You cannot, in this particular method, you cannot take a position that's bigger than your largest one you have. So even though the length is 10, we can't use 10 because 9 is the highest it's going to go. From 0 to 9. No negatives either. Okay. And the very last thing I wanted to talk about in this particular video was substring. Okay. So with substring, substring is written like this. There's two different substrings. We're going to just do one today. So with substring, it returns a substring starting at the position parameter. So okay, so inside here we're going to give you a position, and then from that spot on is what's going to be returned. So this one actually returns a whole string again. So if I were to use this rocks again, so it'd be S1 dot substring. Oh, is it all? I think it looks like that. And if we do POS, our position, let's say we want it just to say rocks. The position of this R here is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that R should be at position 5. So from 5 on, it's going to return that value. Oh, sorry. Rocks. There we go. Pretty exciting. So one method, the first method of substring, there are a couple that we can use. The first one is whatever position you put here, is if it's one integer parameter, it's going to return from that position, so the R, to the end of the line. Okay? Returns. Oh, I wrote that already. I probably didn't understand it when I said it, but there it is. Okay, so have a good day.